Electric guitar is one of the most popular and exciting instruments out there, and in the world of contemporary Christian worship, it's often a prominent voice in the band. The versatility, the sounds, the tones, and the fun that we can have while we worship is, in my opinion, pretty second to none because I'm here to praise him with the stringed instruments. But in seriousness, contemporary worship is also a great place to start learning guitar if you're just getting started to get serious because it gives you that live setting to play in with generally easy to understand, accessible parts, licks, and riffs to learn. But from body styles to pickups to strings and everything else, it can be a really confusing journey to embark on. And if you're just getting started in your search for your workhorse worship instrument, this video is for you. We're going to talk about getting you set up with your first electric guitar for worship, and later on I'll show you an awesome budget guitar that surprised me, so stick around for that. Hey, hi, hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jordan, and I'm so glad you're here. If you're new, what I typically do here on this channel is I share worship covers, talk about gear, and also occasionally talk about ways to improve your worship. If you'd like to hear more, definitely consider subscribing and hitting that bell so you don't miss the next one. Alright, so I say it every week, and I really mean it when I say I'm glad you're here. I'm so grateful you've taken a part of your day to watch this video, and whether you're new to the channel or you're a faithful viewer, I am happy you're here. So obviously, if you're watching this, you're either a guitarist or an aspiring guitarist, and I want to know, for those of you who already have a guitar, what was your first guitar, and do you still have it and play it? Let me know down in the comments. Alright, so the first thing we'll address here is the electric guitar starter pack. I'm going to start by talking a little bit about the pros and cons to picking up a starter pack, and then I'll tell you why I think it's not really the best move if you're looking to get started into serving and playing worship music. Then later on, we'll talk about some great introductory instruments that don't break the bank, but can still get you going. Alright, so back to starter packs for electric guitar. At a glance, they seem great because they present themselves as coming with everything you need in a box. And to a first-time buyer with no information to go on about everything that comes with playing electric guitar, it kind of sounds like a dream come true. When you're just starting, the idea of not having to go into a store with tons of guitars on the wall with no idea what to pick and not feeling like you have to demonstrate your less than adequate skills in front of the entire store, that all sounds like a big win, right? You don't have to worry about the amp or the cables or the strap or the picks. They're all in the box. Super convenient. The other great part about those starter packs is if you've done any shopping on Amazon or Guitar Center or anywhere else, is the price. They tend to be pretty to very inexpensive, ranging from about $150 to $250 for the whole kit. Not too bad. So, on to the downside. What's so bad about them? Well, that convenience factor we just mentioned, for one, is actually kind of a double-edged sword. In getting all the accessories and everything picked out for you in the box, you don't get to spend time doing reading and getting hands-on with the gear. Now, that's not to say that I am at all a proponent of spending boatloads of money on expensive cables. I think that's total bunk, and it's a rabbit hole that I will go down in another video. But for stuff like the comfort of your strap, the features of your amp, the type of picks you like, all that stuff that kind of comes from learning, if you skip out on that, then you might not be happy with what you get. The other downside is that there's a reason the starter packs have the price tags they do. It can come down to the materials like the wood or the quality of the pickups or the quality control, cheap strings, poor intonation, which is in a nutshell kind of how well the guitar plays in tune with itself up the neck. And, you know, getting that bare minimum guitar will probably not serve you well on a stage. So I hinted at it, but the other stuff that kind of comes in that pack is almost always not useful on stage or, you know, beyond just starting out playing. In fact, that amplifier that comes in pretty much all of those packs is pretty much only good for practice. I feel like I've kind of beaten this horse dead, but if you want to hear more about my feelings about these guitar starter packs, I actually made a blog post about it on my website, which you can check out in the description below. Alright, so full disclosure here, while I don't think it's a great plan to spend the bare minimum price to play on for worship, or any style of guitar for that matter, if you guys have watched any of my videos on my channel, you know that I don't play a single guitar that's worth more than $1,000. I currently make a living playing music, and I'd say they work pretty well for me. Even a lot of the budget brands that are out there of decades past, they've upped their quality on some of their lines, and they make some pretty decent instruments nowadays. Actually, some pretty great instruments. So you don't have to spend that $3,000 to get a great guitar that can produce some really excellent tones for playing praise and worship music. Bear in mind that there's really not such a thing as a beginner guitar, only a beginner player. So if you're able to spend that extra couple dollars to get that next tier up, definitely go for it. And if not, I'd encourage you to save up just a little bit more, because the benefits that you get from jumping up just one tier up from that bare minimum will surprise you. So then, now that you know that you don't need to spend a whole bunch of money, what should you look for? Well, in my personal opinion, I think the first thing that you should consider when you're selecting your guitar is not the what, but the why. If your goal is to be a shredder on stage and not really learn the songs as written and kind of improv over everything that the worship band is playing, then you probably already have an idea of what you're after. And if you've made it this far into the video, the rest of this probably won't really apply to you. But if your goal is to serve, to be part of a team that helps facilitate worship of the Most High, then I think this should help. I personally think that that's also the best attitude to have when approaching playing in a worship band. It starts with humility and understanding that being part of a worship team is about glorifying Jesus first, and next about serving the rest of the team and your congregation. In serving the team and congregation, the best thing to consider is how you'll be serving with your band. Will you be the only electric guitarist? Are there other instruments that kind of play in the same range as you, like an acoustic guitar or a keyboard? Answering those kinds of questions will kind of help guide your search. Picking a guitar that you'll be using can be different if you're primarily playing rhythm and filling space, doing volume swells and all that kind of stuff, or if you're playing lead. Alright, so in contemporary worship, what you'll find the majority of players using recently are either guitars with single coil pickups, like the Fender Telecaster, the Stratocaster, or the Jazzmaster, or they'll use guitars with hum canceling pickups like this Gresh, or maybe they'll use something like a Les Paul or an SG. So the differences are single coil pickups tend to have a brighter, punchier sound than humbucking pickups, but humbuckers give you a less noisy signal overall. So there are different varieties of both single coil and humbuckers, but I don't want to get too far into that yet. It's also worth a mention that your amplifier has a lot to do with your overall tone, your overall sound, but we'll address amps in another video too. So you guys might be wondering, what are my thoughts? Well, right now I love single coil style guitars like this Fender Strat in my hands right now, specifically for its versatility. They come in a number of configurations, but the two I have are SSS, which means they have 3 pickups that are all single coil. There's a 5-way selector switch as well that offers a variety of sounds right at your fingertips, even if you don't have access to effects, and the volume and tone controls give you a way to clean up or dirty your sound, even if you don't have an overdrive in front of a decent tube amp. So I've got 2 guitars in this vein, the Buttercream Player Strat here that I've got here that you can also check out in a video up there, as well as another one that I will talk about a little bit later. Alright, so another great one that you probably see the most of, along with its tons of spin-offs, is the Fender Telecaster. This guitar in its normal configuration has a 3-way switch, but I got mine secondhand over 10 years ago, and whoever owned it before me did a 4-way switch mod on it, which adds a little bit of versatility, especially at high gain, which is kind of cool. But one day maybe I'll get brave and tear this open and show you guys. But I wanted to let you guys know that you can get a fantastic standard Tele from Squier, brand new, for about $250. I think an honorable mention should also go to the Affinity series, but the $20 difference in price between the two, in my opinion, is pretty negligible. And for the added value you get from having that true body-through string design, which gives you a little bit more sustain and makes upgrades easier if you decide to do that as time goes on, kind of makes it worth it. Alright, and the next guitar on the list isn't a single coil guitar at all. It's my Electromatic Pro Jet from Gresh that I mentioned earlier, which has 2 blacktop Filtertron humbucking pickups in it. At first glance, if you look at this guitar, it kind of looks like a Les Paul clone, but this guy's actually a little different. It's got a chambered body for one, making it way lighter than a Les Paul, which is great for playing long sets. Mine is the G5438 model from about like 6 or 7 years ago. While these are humbucking pickups, they are, as a result, a lot less noisy than their single coil counterparts. They actually have a kind of chimey characteristic to them as well that gives them a good amount of punch and clarity, which makes these pickups a little different from the traditional humbucker. The added clarity that they have actually makes this a great option if you want to add some chime to your sound, but the wiring in your venue is less than great, so you would get noise from single coils. Now, I also wanted to mention that the new offering that replaces this model from Gresh is using a different style of pickup from Gresh also, called the Broadtron, which is a little bit more humbucker-like, but still kind of has a little bit of chiminess to it too. Those guitars are great, but I actually like this one a little bit more. And right now, I think these are a gem of a guitar, and you can pick them up on Reverb still for about $350, $375. Okay, so back to the Strat style guitar for just a quick second. The Player Strat that I showed you earlier retails for about $699, which might be outside some of your budgets if you're watching a budget guitar video like this one. But I have a great guitar option that I took a little risk on for a house guitar at my church, and I was actually really pleased with. This is the Sterling by Music Man Cutlass CT30. And if you're looking for a great Strat style guitar that you want to break the mold a little bit with, so you don't actually just want to get a Squier Strat, this is actually a surprisingly great little instrument for about $250. I plan on making some modifications to this as time goes on, but out of the box it actually plays pretty well. The ceramic pickups that are in it don't sound too bad, and the only thing that I've really done so far is change the strings and kind of adjust the intonation. One thing I noticed as I was adjusting the intonation is that the hardware that's on it, so like all the metal pieces, are a little bit cheap. So when I was adjusting that intonation, one of the screws actually stripped. So that was kind of a bummer, but easy to replace and expensive to replace, no big deal. It also has that rolled heel joint that Fender just put on all of their like $2,000 instruments, so you can get the rolled heel joint for $250 as opposed to $2,000. That's pretty cool. I also really like this guitar aesthetically. I like the maple fingerboard and the Daphne blue is what this color is called combination. I do want to say I lucked out because this finish is what I wanted along with this pickup configuration. This guitar comes with options for both a rosewood fingerboard and a maple fingerboard, and for SSS like this one, or HSS, which means a humbucker in the bridge instead of another single coil pickup. But each one of those options only has one finish available. So if you want the HSS in maple, you're stuck with like a buttercream kind of color like the Strat that I was showing you earlier. But if color's not a big deal to you, then you have 4 options for this guitar at $250, which is pretty neat. But all in all, it definitely sounds great, and I've used it on stage a couple of times already, and it's a lot of fun. Also, keep an eye out on the channel for the next cover because I will be using this guitar in it, so you can get an idea of what it sounds like in the worship context. Alright, so I know this ended up being chock full of information, but I hope this helped guide some of you in your searches as you pick up your electric guitar to play in worship. And as always, I just wanted to say thank you for being who you are, thank you for letting me be who I am, and thank you for being a part of this journey with me. I can't wait to see you in the next one. I love you a lot. Be well.